and we're live again. And for this one, I did not name this properly. I think I named this part 2, but it's supposed to be part 3. No worries, I'll change that later. So earlier in the previous session, I had set up a server and a client, and the client isn't doing much. Just in the background, it's issuing a couple of queries or mutations to the server. This one is just getting some data, let's say a blog post, and this one is creating one. Actually, this one is legitimately creating one. Those are 7 blog posts created, and this one is just getting the first one with ID 1. And the way that it's doing it is through the code here. It says, hey, get me a post by ID 1, post.create, and pass it this object. And then on the server side, I have a post route that defines these actions. So by ID, create, update, and delete. So that's the basic CRUD thing. And my goal for this session, as much as I can, I actually don't even know if I'll get to doing anything. It might just be just thinking through things for now. But my goal for this session is to play with filtering, sorting, and paging. And then later, maybe in a later session, making it so that I can templatize those things. So then I can generate a template for a specific model. And then it will auto-generate this CRUD stuff for me. Because we can already see a pattern here, which is fairly direct. The by ID is by ID. Let's assuming there's a model and all of them have IDs. There'll always be a number. Not always, but by default, mostly be a number. And then, if you need to, if that gets templatized and generated, you need to change it, generate it, and then change it. No big deal. This part can be changed to any specific model. You just change this, this, and this. So those will be a variable in the template. This here, I'll probably refactor so that it's part of the model. So something like postModel.schema. And then that object itself is generated and managed in the schema. And so we just pull it in. And so this is just templatized again. And all of this is templatized essentially. And same thing here. All of this, even this name here, it'll still say post if I generated a post CRUD route. But I'd pass that in as a variable again. On top of that, what I want to build out is filtering and paging. So what's missing from here, so I have basic CRUD, but what I'm missing is list. So I want to get a list. But if I'm getting a list, I want to be able to paginate that list. I want to be able to do a bunch of different things. So that's what I want to get into right now. And in the future, I want to be able to pass the model or the schema into the front end and then pass it into some component that will automatically give me a view for listing, a view for creating, editing, and deleting, and paginating, and all those things. Maybe templatizing that stuff, or maybe just, maybe it's just magic. And the reason for that is I just want to get started very quickly with certain ideas without having to build out a lot of this boilerplate stuff. Okay, so let's get down to doing some filtering and paginating and all that good stuff. And so let me open up Zod because I'll need to reference Zod. Essentially, what I want to do is something like this. Actually, yeah, let me just start coding it. Let me just start coding it. So I might have something like list. And then here I would have an object and then I want to be able to pass it a bunch of things. So in this case, I might say something like, okay, actually, I just might, for now, just leave it empty. And I'll get to this in a second. And then here, I believe I can just, so let me load up objection as well. And this is what happens when you're kind of learning or relearning a bunch of libraries, is you just referencing the docs over and over. So if I wanted to query everything, that would just be this. So I just wanted to make sure there wasn't some special thing for querying everything. Posts, and then posts. Post is just an array. So I'm assuming that I would have to map it, unless I don't think this has any special to JSON things. It's a pure array. So let's just map it. P dot to JSON. And let's test this out. It doesn't like this, probably because it's empty. Theoretically, I don't need an input to start. Oh, not that it's empty, but because it's not used. Is declared but never used. Okay, so I can just get rid of that for now, and then see if this works on the client side. And then solely I'll add filtering. I'm going to comment this out so it doesn't create a new photo every time. And here, we'll just get the posts, post.list.query. It doesn't like it because I defined it as a mutation. It should be a query. And now that should go away. That should go away, but I think it's just expecting an empty object as an input. So let me just give it an empty object for now. I should be able to pass nothing in here. So I should be able to do dot nullish, and that should allow me to not pass in anything. And that works. And let's go see if it gets us all the posts. I'm getting a weird can't open file for writing no such file, which is weird. What is this? This seems to be this is not real. This seems to be just a fake, not a fake, but just a transitional file that I had created. And so I can just safely quit here. Okay, sorry about that. So back to the setup. Okay. And if I visit my app here, now I'm getting a post list, and this should return the 7 odd posts that were automatically created, and those should be listed in the console. Great. So this is what I want. I want to be able to list. On top of that, I want to be able to filter. So maybe let's start building out some kind of filter. So if I say, oh, the title should be breakfast, or the body should have eggs, I should only get this one. I should be able to sort by title or body. I should be able to do a bunch of different things here. So let's see if I can do that, or how I would go about doing that. There are a bunch of different libraries out there that have suggestions on what to do. So in fact, Objection has some plugins that have guides. I believe it's filter. And then visibility authorized. Okay, so it's not these. So there's filter, which comes with its own language, let's just say. So maybe, I mean, can I use this? Although it might be a bit, it might be too much. It might be a bit too much. So let's see. It does have guides on what and how we should grab it. It's doing eager loading, which is quite amazing. Has this been maintained? Okay, so it's recently been updated as well. So somebody's working on it. And our filtering as well as new Objection.js, object notation. Huh. So I would have to do something like this. Oh, wow. This is pretty extensive. This is probably far more than I want. But also this is rather amazing. So this seems like a lot. This does seem like a lot. And I don't want to jump into something this intense immediately. But maybe at some point. This is pretty cool. Won't lie. Okay. So, and I know that I believe the creator of Objection also had a similar library. Objection.find also. Oh, I looked at the updated 25 days ago and I was like, oh, also updated recently. But no, not updated recently. But let's see how they build out. So for them, they're saying, okay, they pass in some parameters, and there's like first name, like lower, blah. Movies.name equals blah. And then they have eager loading, which is cool. Order by. This is really neat. Even group buys. Counts. Oh my. Okay. Okay, I want to delve into this at some point. Okay, let me see here. Okay. It is recommended to use the query builder for constructing query parameters on the client side. I wasn't expecting to go down this route, but it is interesting. And it might give me an idea here. So they want us to use this on the client side. And then this will this will turn into an object that I guess we can send over the wire. Query builder that greater than less than dot build. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, I mean, super interesting. And I might cheat by looking at the internals for these libraries. This one hasn't been updated in a few years. Maybe it doesn't need to be. Maybe everything that it could do is done. Okay. I kind of wanted to define a little bit simpler of a filtering system. Let me take a look at QL, which I came across a long time ago. And all this is that it parses your query parameters, which would be an object like this. And I like the simplicity of this. And I want to see maybe if we can do something with this. And so something similar to this anyway. And so you would pass it here. The filter, if it's in direct equals, you do this. If there's anything like, you know, greater than, less than, etc., you could do it here. And then, you know, dot like, for example. So this would be like, sorry, not here, here. You know, status like blah, for example. And then page size and, you know, number would be the other one. So let me copy this because this is something along the lines of what I want. Let's just say this. I'm not. So I want an object passed in like this, but for me, I just want to make this an array because if you want to sort by multiple things, and then we'll use, I believe what JSON API recommends. So this can be the reverse. So by default, it's ascending, and this can be descending. And then I want page number. So I want page number and page size. And then, excuse me, this could be something like age greater than 10. Status of an ID in, or, you know, whatever else as well. Okay. So maybe I can start with some basic filter, and I want a filter for title, let's say. And we'll just do an equivalent filter first, and then we'll take it from there. So I might say something like filter is an object, also nullish. Oops. And then this object here will have a title. And a title is a string based on the string that we have. Okay. And let me grab the input here and maybe just log it for now. And on the client side, let's pass in some params. So it's already giving me potential typing here. So I want to say, yeah, I want to filter title, and I want it to be breakfast. So I want all posts where the title is breakfast. And close that. Sorry, close that. Yeah, there we go. Okay, and so now when I come back here and refresh, I'm getting everything, of course, but I want to quickly see what gets passed. This is a this is JSON that gets passed, encoded. Okay, there you go, Vue. That's very nice. So we are getting sort of this object being passed in here, but my server side just show me what I'm getting. So I'm getting filter title breakfast, which is very similar to what I have here. Filter, title breakfast. And now I want to pass that into a query builder for objection or for connects, whatever makes sense. So I'm going to leave this here. And now I can say maybe something like if input dot filter actually I could just go over them, right? I can just so I'll do for const of, and then okay, why is this all complaining right now? What did I do? Yeah. For all const. And then this can become the key or the field maybe, and then this is value. It still doesn't like this. This object is no longer undefined. That's fine, of course. I thought earlier it gave me a different error, but I'm not sure whether I just misread it or whether it's looking at this differently. Okay, so I have a field and a value, and this field and value would be a string for now, but later on it might get, more in depth. So string for now. And then I can go ahead and modify this by saying post is equal to post dot something. So in my case here, I might say where field value. I should be able to do something like this, but I don't await, and that gives me that option. That makes sense. And then I would await here, perhaps. I don't like doing this. I don't like awaiting in like this. I want to typically put in a variable, but for now, this will do. And let's take a look at Objection.js's API for, where type things. So I can pass it a where for property. This here, which is the comparator, and this. If I pass it just object and value, it will assume equals. And there might be other special types of wheres. Maybe there's a where in. or something like that or I could probably just pass it an array, right? Where array, we got an order by, which is great. So we'll be using that in a second. Okay, and let me jump into Next and take a look at their so query builder. Great, of course, because they have a query builder. And there should be a where somewhere. There we go. Where clauses. This is it. This is what we want. I mean, it depends on how much we want to expose to the front end and filtering, but for the most part, this is good. So we can pass in key value. We can pass in where in, yeah. That's great. We could do or wheres as well. So typically they'll all be end wheres. Where. Okay, cool. Where in, where not in, where between. Where like, okay, good. And where I like, which is insensitive. Like, okay. What's this? Where JSON object? Ah, okay. So if you had a JSON object, it has filtering options for that as well. I think that's good enough. We're just doing the where for now, but we will probably do a where in. And the rest of this is fine because I don't see, there you go. So this syntax as well. That's what I wanted to see. And these are just whatever the database will give you, I guess. I wonder if it has some kind of, hey, do this or do that. Op. And the op is just a string. So it's not, they don't care. They're like, whatever operator you want to pass, we're good with it. Okay, and this should work, which means if I go to my front end and look at my list, preview, this should only have one result, and it's the one with breakfast, right? And I've already forgotten the titles of the other one. The other one was titled Frodo. So if I search for Frodo here, I should get Frodo in the body, and that's amazing. So now we're getting 6 Frodos because that's what we have. Okay, super cool. So we have filtering as part of this now. And very quickly, we can imagine building out this object, this Zod object, by magically maybe passing in the schema. So let me start by doing something like that. Let me start by first moving the schema up here, and then I'll move it to the model. So here I can just do something like schema, and then up here, I missed something. I actually want the object to be part of the schema. And then we can just remove that. And so just passing in the full-on schema for create. The schema will have an ID, ID number. but we actually don't want that as part of our create. So we'll do something like omit. And I believe I can say, let's take a look at the Zod options here. And I can say omit blah true. I wonder why they do that. I wonder why I have to pass in, why I can't just pass it maybe an array of. That's fine. So omit ID true. And here, once we update, we want everything. Okay, that makes sense. And then that means because I want everything here, I can just say schema and simplify this. And then here, this is interesting. So this object is going to be a bit different, right? So for this object, I want to do like a list schema. So let's do this list schema. And then, okay, and let's just make sure that everything is working. Server was restarting, and now everything is working. Great. And there's probably a way that I can go through each one of these and just loop through and give it this. And I'll know what to do here because this is just defined right here. Right? So I should be able to do something like I'm trying to just think about how this will play out. So let's take a look at extend, which Zod offers us. And we should be able to do something like extend this, right? So I want to loop through these, and I want to extend this object. I want to extend this object. Okay. Right? Okay, got it. So object, shape, so I can extend an object, and so forth, so on. So I'm actually going to get rid of the nullish here and move that here so that it simplifies this. And then here, I can even begin with an empty object, and I can const. I actually don't know what I'm going to get here. So I'll just say field of schema. Let me quickly paste this over here so I don't lose it. Schema dot shape. And this will be and I can just log field for now. And this should just show me. Should just crash on me. Right, but before it crashed, it should have. Oh, it's unable to compile? Because it doesn't have a filter. Oops. Okay, yeah, of course, because I gutted everything. And maybe I should just not gut things before I begin to work on this. So let's just bring this back, have this working, and then have this just give us what we need. Okay, so that's pretty intense. So it works like this. I'll get an ID, I'll get a number. And I'll get a Zod number here, which I believe this returns. So this is Zod string, which is just the definition. Yeah, that should be fine. I think, for example, if we had any limitations here, like the string could only be, you know, length 6 here, like max 6, that should be fine. Because if we bring that in here, I don't want to, you know, there's no reason why you should be able to search for a string that's longer than this. Or, you know, if this was email, then the search value should be email as well. For, you know, the one-to-one anyway. And then for the not one-to-one, I'd have to figure out something. Yeah, we could probably just look at the type, right? And the type is Zod number, so we could just have this be an empty default Zod number. Because even if I did something like, so that's a Zod string, if I did max 6, this would still be a Zod string. And so that's fine. So we're good either way. Okay, great. So really it's the filter object that I want to build. Oh no, okay, so I can just do something like, so this is the list schema. I'll probably need a filter schema and a sort schema and a pagination schema as part of this. So now I can come in here and yeah, okay, good. I can come in here, grab this out. Or just have this be empty. So if I look at this at the end of this, it's still an object. So I can just have, but I can't do list schema.filter, right? So I would have to have a filter schema defined up here. So let me try that again. List schema dot. Yeah, that's not there, of course. So I would, again, just define a filter schema and then put that in here. Set the object, and then this becomes the filter schema. Keep the nullish here. And then here, I would just go through and do a filter schema dot extend with field. And for now, I can just do I can come up with a better term than value, but for now. Definition, you know. Okay. Is that it? And now if I save this and I jump into one I mean, this I was hoping would just work. So still a TypeScript issue, which I need to get to in a second. That's fine. I lost track, actually. I lost track because, yeah, this is just field string. So I wonder why it would begin to fail here. Because values unknown. So what's the problem? It doesn't like unknowns? So column is either ID, title, or body. Ah, okay. Okay. So, but then how did this work before? So when I had this defined all here, how did that work? Okay, so let me, okay. A supported Python version was not found. Ugh. I have a plugin which I haven't used in a while, and it's a it needs a Python install. I really want to use it because I want to see what things were like, but I'm just going to undo here for a bit. So when z.object was just a pure was just this, it was fine with it. So I'm just going to copy this, bring everything back. If my plugin was working, I wouldn't have to do that. And then over here, let me just paste this out. Oops. So now it's happy because field is what? And value is string. So really the complaint was on value. But for my purposes, okay. But for my purposes, I need you not to care. So if I did this, that would still work. Which means now if I get rid of this and put in my list schema, that should still work. And you know what? I can have the nullish right here. Okay, so coming down here, everything should compile fine. And then on the client side, seems like the filtering is gone now. So maybe I can output the value. Filter's empty. I wonder if that's on purpose. So let's open up this and let's see if it gives me any issues, because I am passing in a title, but it seems to be happy with what I'm giving it. Okay, so no clues for me here. Filter schema. Does it not like this? Does it like, maybe I can't be dynamic with it? I'd be fairly surprised if that were the case. So this is correctly a Zod number or a Zod string, and this should be one of, and this is just a string. So if I was to console.log filter schema.shape, I should see here it's empty. Ah, silly me. Okay, of course. I need to overwrite, which makes sense. That was the whole problem. Extend doesn't. Update, so now I'm getting those values show up here. And now I believe I go on the server side and I refresh, this should turn to 6. Or not. Okay. The definition can be nullish. Because it's saying, hey, everything is required. And everything is definitely not required. Refresh, and now I'm getting 6 here. And now if I change this to breakfast, for example, oops, I should just get the one post. Okay, cool. And here, I believe, for example, if I was to try and add another thing that I want to filter, I was hoping that this would show me like, okay, if I said filter lala string, I was hoping that this would be like, hey, you can't do it. But it probably can't do it anymore. And the reason why it can't do it anymore is because I think it doesn't want this to be dynamic in order for the typing to be maintained. So I wonder if there is a way to properly maintain that. These are two separate problems. I mean, right now, for example, so if I did do this, this should fail. It doesn't. On the server side, it clears out everything else. So it clears out. It works because I guess there's no longer checks, because this is no longer like a strict object, but it does check. So for example, if I said something like body, lala, the body does come through. And I get nothing. I should be able to do something like, you know, ID is 3. And that comes through as a number, and I get ID 3. Okay. If I did something like this, so I wonder if the check here is good. So if I said ID in 3 or 4, trying to see how far I can extend this. It fails right on the client side, actually, it seems. No, on the server side, it fails. because it's a bad request, because there's no in allowed. So let's see if I can't maybe code up some of that allows. So the field is either itself or it's, you know, it's another object with other values, specifically things like in, greater than, this and that. So I'm going to start with in because that applies to all fields, but greater than, less than, greater than, equal, I believe those don't apply to everything. Although I'm sure if I did it, that would be fine as well. So let's take a look at Zod. And let's see. I believe it has like an or option as well, where it's like, oh, this or this. And if that's true, I should be able to find this. Okay. Equivalent to a union of two things. So I should be able to say, oh, it's this or it's blah. Okay. And then I want to do nullish. So it should be like or this, and then z.object. And here I can say in, and this will be an array of the definition. So I can say z.array of definition. And this will be done. Okay, cool. Now if I go back to my client, does it still fail? It doesn't fail anymore. It doesn't return anything because we haven't coded the database query part of it. But this part no longer fails. And so here we can check what value is and proceed accordingly. Okay. So if the value is a primitive, well, we could just yeah, I mean, in this case, in the in case, I can do this. If in value, do this, else do this. And I believe I can say we're in here. Value is unknown. I wish it weren't. I wish there were some clear. Is it unknown? Yeah, it's unknown because I have because I'm still using that dynamic stuff. So okay, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let me just wrap this with any, and then I can probably see if there's a better TypeScript way of doing this later. So now if I go back, I expect Okay, yeah, of course, of course. I should probably, I wonder if it'll let me do this. No, no. Should not have wondered. So I do need to pass this in, and now this should work once the server loads. And now I get 3 and 4. And if I pass in something like front-end tRPC, if I was to pass in something like a string instead, I believe this should not work. It's going to pass on the client side for the typing reasons, but it should fail server side. There should be a way of me making this not so dynamic because field is fairly well known. Like, it's not just string. It's one of ID, title, and body. Right? It's not just. Can I define? Can I define it? Okay, let's take a look. Zod string extends Zod type, and Zod type is ideally just Zod type. Right, so I should be able to say something like as record string for now, and then Zod type. Is that good enough? Is it happy? Because it knows this is a Zod type. And then here, what happens if, so TypeScript key off. And this is where my TypeScript knowledge kind of fails me. And okay, so should I be able to do, okay, let's see. Should I be able to do something like key of schema.shape? Oh, you don't have schema. You do have schema. Key of type of. That doesn't work. Right, so let me just play around with this a little bit first. So if I did type LOL is equal to type of schema dot shape. That's this object, and then I should be able to say key of. Should I not? And this whole thing doesn't like it because of something that is completely illegible now. Yeah, it's like it's really hard to read what doesn't overlap with what. But this would have been nice. This would have been nice, and then ideally Zod would have recognized, oh, it's one of these. Can I force it? Can I say field as key of LOL? And then if I look at filter schema at the end of the day, no, it just it's pretty empty. So it doesn't care. It's like I don't I don't care. So that's not how you do it. I thought maybe this would be a nice way of jumping in there. There's probably some other way of having dynamic fields in a Zod object and not having it have issues. Let me quickly check to see. Generates model classes from Zod schemas. Somebody's would have had to do some work to be like, hey, okay, convert JSON objects into Zod schemas. And for, I mean, there's no reason why the typing should be functional, right? Let me take a look at one thing again. Type t is equal to key of LOL, and this then becomes that, which is what I expect. Can I say this? No, it doesn't. It's like, I don't care. It doesn't matter. What if I do something like as, again, record? Hold on. What does this expect? So that might be a bit complicated. What does this expect? Extend Zod raw shape. Yeah, this is not legible for me. I'm not going to be able to make this out, right? K in key of. K in key of T. Shape is T. And K in key of T. K in key of T. So I should be able to do something like T, and then this can be Zod type. No. It doesn't like it, even though here we've like literally forced it. So if I said string, it's like, yeah, okay, fine. But when I literally am like, hey, field as this, it doesn't like it. So let me just say f field as tee, and then say f here, and then here say tee. It doesn't like it. Why? Okay, I'm just gonna play around with this just a little bit more. What if I say const test is equal to ID this? So the type of this should be ID string. If I say field is equal to ID, oh, so field is ID, like that. The shape is ID. It's not string, it's ID. So if I come around here and I go field, what's the type of test? It is ID string. What's the type of F? It's this. And then, so this should be fine. Like F is ID title body. Record is that. And all of this is a Zod type eventually somewhere. So what's the... no. Should I be doing like... Should I be defining it as I saw it here? Like, you know, n number, blah. An index signature parameter type cannot be a literal type or a generic type. Consider using a mapped object instead. Well, this shouldn't matter. Honestly, this shouldn't even matter. Because I'm technically passing all that stuff in here. So either it's a matter of like filter schema not picking that up, and I still need to figure out a dynamic way of getting those types into all of that. This still fails server side because this failed. So that's fine. If I make this work, that's fine. I would love to get the types here so that I know I can filter on ID. That worked when I hard-coded it. It doesn't work when I dynamically build it. And I'm going to have to probably do some reading to figure out exactly how that works. But it's getting late and it's more time than I had wanted to spend on this. We additionally, I mean, while I'm here, maybe I can quickly just make sort work and then call it a day, just so we end up on a functional note. So I'm just going to get rid of these. Okay, and then all of this I'm probably going to rewrite to look a bit different, especially once, like, let's say I find out how the whole thing works. So here I'll have a sort schema, and really the sort schema is an array of the keys. Right? It's just an array. Technically, it's just an array of the string. So maybe I don't have to I'm just trying to think. Yeah, technically is just an array of strings. So I actually don't have to worry about all of this. I should be able to say something like sort z.array z.string nullish, and that should be good enough. And then let me use that on the front end here. So we filtered here, and now I can sort by a string array, and here we'll sort by title. Although that will not do anything for us because it's already sorted by title, because breakfast is the first one, so that's no good. And then the rest of them are all photos. So here I should be able to come back around here and do something like go through the sortable. So I do for const sort field of input dot sort or empty array, and then this becomes something like this, and that is order by. It should be sort field in a sense, but I want to see if it begins with dash or minus, then I want it to be reversed. So let's just take a look at the order by examples. Really, this is the connects docs, which no longer link. Oh, sweet. Okay, null values are put first or last. You can control that. I didn't know that. Okay, so in this case, we'll just we'll parse out. So I should be able to say something like I should be able to say something like, I'm just trying to think of a simple way of doing this. But it escapes me. So that's fine. I was thinking, hey, can I just destructure? Can I destructure a string? Can I destructure a string? Like, can I do first and then rest is equal to sort field? Yeah, I can't. Or maybe I can. And then I can say field is equal to first is a dash, then rest dot join. Otherwise, it's sort field. And then similarly, I can say, so this goes to field, and I can say direction. If first is dash, then this would be descending, and then ascending otherwise. And this can be direction. Is that it? Will this work? I guess the question is, will this properly just filter out the first elements? It seems like join by default joins to commas, which we don't want. And now that seems to work. I will have to stop filtering by Frodo, so front tRPC. And let's just get rid of the filter, right? Let's just get rid of, oops, not that. Yeah, that. And only have a sort. And if we do that now, Frodo comes last, breakfast comes first. If we get rid of the dash, then breakfast should come first. Not seeing that happening. Did I save? Just making sure that I saved. And now breakfast should come first. I didn't save. And I come back here and I change this to a dash again, and I save. And this should be Frodo first. Great, so now we have our sorting working by default, and we can sort on any one of these fields. What I'll probably do later on is in this sort definition, I'll probably have a refinement to check that. The value of the string is a key of the schema, so that you can't just send anything, and you have to send, dash key of schema or key of schema, and that would be, and we'd have to check that. We'd have to check that at runtime, which is fine. It'll just fail at runtime. Would it have been nice if, like, I think if I learn enough TypeScript, I might be able to get Zod to be fixed, but whatever, that's fine. I can get rid of this. There's a lot of cleanup work to do, but I mean, essentially today what we've done is, we factored out the schema, we used emit to get rid of the ID, we looped through the fields of the schema so that they can be filterable using either a direct equivalence or this. And then, later on, I'm going to do things like greater than, less than equal to, and so forth. So there'll be a bunch of options right off the bat that you get that are built in here. And then this here can really be abstracted away as well, so that it's any query that I pass it, this code will all be refactored somewhere else, so that I know exactly what I allow coming in from the query side, and it works with any model. Later on, mind you, I might just copy one of these libraries that we saw, because they already have a language for this, right? So it's just too powerful is all. But maybe that's amazing. Maybe I can have a super amazing, powerful system up top. Right? Look at this. I can order by an association. That's pretty powerful. Right? I'm assuming that I can grab these. I think it'll return the children. So maybe something to play around with sometime later. But anyway, cool. We have sorting working, and we have basic filtering working right out of the box. And then once this gets this obviously will get refactored somewhere else as well. And then this will go into the post model, and then this template can be super simple for basic CRUD operations and list. Cool. And that's what I have for today. And then hopefully next time I'm more prepared to debug some of these things, which is, or have more time to debug some of these things, which is how do we get Zod to have fixed values for our fields. And then we figure it out from there. All right. Good night.